We're with Manny Rodriguez, legendary martial artist, great
Legend.
friend. How'd you get started in martial arts?
So, interesting story. I got started in martial arts. Well, I got into boxing when I was really, really young, but I wasn't old enough to kind of know that I wanted a future in martial arts. Really, when I was in high school, I had a teacher who was like the science teacher at San Marcos High, and I was his teacher aide. I was laid up because I had a car accident, and I was like recovering from a knee injury. He let me watch UFC fights while I was like grading his papers, and I kind of like UFC one, saw Gracie. I was like kid, very very impressioned. He's like, hey, there's a guy in Del Mar that teaches that. Like you can go to Del Mar and you can learn that. I was like, oh shit, okay. So as soon as my knee was like good enough, I drove to gym. Back then it was Nelson Montero Brazilian Jiu Jitsu off Jimmy Durante. It was right next to the Axis Bar. All you San Diego people. Uh, and I took my first jiu-jitsu class, and I was hooked. And then I started training with him there in 1996. And I trained with him until he left for Abu Dhabi in 1997, almost 1998. And then I met Roy Harris, and I've been with Roy ever since.
How's Roy different in the way he teaches martial arts?
Well, I think Roy, as a martial arts instructor, has changed even since I started with him. I think what initially like drew me to Roy was very simple. He spoke English very well. He teaches jujitsu in a very like almost classroom, almost textbook like language, and he had like a numerical system on. It just made sense to me. His math when it came to jujitsu made sense to me. Overall, why I've stayed, even though I've been fortunate enough to train with all kinds of black belts, all kinds of high level teachers, I think if I can say one thing is he's encouraged me to train the 20% of jujitsu that I use regularly 80% of the time. So I still play with the other 80% of techniques and positions and sweeps and everything else that you can learn because jiu-jitsu is infinite. But my focus is on the 20% that I use like constantly. Like that's my game, and I focus on that a bulk of my time. So I think his ability to make my technique an actual skill for me is what has kept me around.
And you were an MMA fighter. You were pro. You won a belt. You beat people up. I've seen it. Um, how how are fighters today different than they were when you were fighting?
Um, let's see. So yeah, I think obviously I did fight, and I think it was a different time. I think when I was fighting, you're talking about realistically the first generation of fighters in MMA. I think the difference was we all had full time jobs. So like I worked full time for Sherwin Williams Paint Company, you know, and then I trained on top of that. And the first fight I fought, I made $200, and it was like on some bullshit. Yeah, I don't want to say bullshit. It was in some random MMA only magazines, MMA only stuff back then. You couldn't see it. It was on pay per view, but you could see it like at night, like a month later. So it wasn't what it is now. People didn't do it for the popularity. They didn't do it for the money. They did it because they loved fighting, and they were passionate about a growing sport. And I was just at the right place at the right time.